Welcome everyone, Sierra here, and we're going to be getting into another Let's Talk Ships, this time with Naruto and Hinata. Now this has honestly been something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've been kind of avoiding it because I was scared of the backlash, but I'm going to speak my truth and I'm going to let it all out. It's not like I'm completely against it and it's not like I despise the ship. I just feel like with Naruto being an MC, they really could have done a lot better. I don't think Naruto and Hinata are written as well as they could be. Now other pairings like Shikatima, Asuma and Kurenai, Minato and Kushina, those are good examples of couples that are written very well in Naruto and I love their development. To me, Shikatima is my favorite pairing because they're very natural, the development is there, and though they kind of had a rough start in the beginning, we got to see that progress and change over time, and I really enjoyed that about their relationship. So why don't we get into the infamous Naruto Hinata ship and try and dissect their relationship a bit and maybe talk about some things that could have been done differently. Alright, so let's start with Naruto's background. Now of course Naruto is our MC, and the big hint is that the show is literally named after him. But it isn't always like that. Dragon Ball Z is a good example because while Dragon Ball Z might as well be called Goku, it's not. Anyway, Naruto really had a hard life and that was kind of set in stone at birth, which kind of sucks. Especially when there was nothing that could have been done differently to prevent the hard life he had ahead of him. A lot of people might not like this, but this is all thanks to Obito and his doing. He kind of went crazy over a woman that didn't return his feelings, and things kind of went left from there. Anyway, if you remember, Naruto's mother Kushina, she was a Jinchuriki and that was never an easy path. Being a Jinchuriki usually never is, and we've seen that time and time again in anime. We've seen that with Gaara, we've seen that with Naruto, we even seen that with Killer Bee, but Killer Bee wasn't too bothered by it, so he's a rare case. Anyway, Jinchurikis are usually treated horribly and ostracized by the villagers, which makes sense, and then it doesn't. It makes sense because Naruto's birth is often associated with the night the Nine Tails went rampant. Then it's like the next thing you hear after that, after everything is resolved with the Nine Tails incident, you hear that it's been sealed into a baby named Naruto. So from that aspect, it makes sense why Naruto was feared and even treated horribly. It doesn't make it right, but it does make sense from that aspect. If you think about it, that's kind of like your favorite spot being attacked and you never see it the same and always wonder if it'll happen again in the back of your mind, because let's be real, if I go to the car wash one day and it gets lit up, chances are I'll never see that location the same and I'll just outright avoid it if I can. But in these villagers' case, obviously you can't avoid your home. So I guess the villagers' only choice was to be rude and bully a kid who really had no choice in the matter. I guess it didn't matter that he was already going through a lot, seeing as he was an orphan with an angry demon fox inside of him. On the other hand, here's the part that kind of doesn't make sense to me. Now I get why they may feel the way they feel towards Naruto, but why do they still feel that way towards Jinchurikis, period? Naruto was not their first Jinchuriki. Plus, it's not like Jinchurikis were a foreign concept. I mean, I could be wrong, but I believe having a Jinchuriki was a testament of power in order to be able to measure up and compete with the other great nations. Now, it's hard to tell and some may or may not agree, but I really feel like they should have disclosed Naruto's identity. They should have disclosed that Naruto was the 4th Hokage's son, because at that point, if you still bully and pick on the Hokage's son, you're garbage. I've personally never been a fan of bullying. I find it very distasteful and it's hurtful. You never know what someone is going through and you could just be adding on more to what they're already going through. The 4th Hokage and his wife made a huge sacrifice that night, and it is an insult, a direct insult, to basically treat his son like garbage. Unfortunately, we'll never know if that really would have made any difference or not, but Naruto really had it rough and his hardship didn't end the night he lost his parents. That's the night it began. Naruto is a character you really feel bad for and sympathize with because he had to deal with the villagers and face the fact that he didn't have his parents on a daily basis. Now his story isn't all that dark because Naruto was able to establish a whole lot of other bonds with others like Haruka, the 3rd Hokage, Kakashi, Sasuke, Jiraiya, Gaara, and many others, as well as become the Hokage later on in his adulthood. So in the end, Naruto won. Okay, so let's get into Hinata's background. Now, while Hinata didn't have an evil fox sealed into her as an infant, she does have quite an interesting past herself. Now, Hinata belongs to the infamous Hyuga clan. She's the oldest daughter of Hiyashi Hyuga, and she has a younger sister who goes by the name of Hanabi Hyuga. Now, because her father was the head of the Hyuga clan, she was raised to follow in his footsteps, but that didn't pan out so well. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing all the time, but it can be, because sometimes when you're raised to follow in your parents' footsteps, that is a lot of pressure, and that leads to hardship along the way. Now, I never admitted this to my parents, but I felt pressured from them as well because they wanted me to go to college, and they wanted me to take on all these opportunities that they didn't do or take for themselves. So it was kind of hard because I felt like I didn't have any other choice, and I didn't think of my path for myself. If I knew now what I knew back then, I probably wouldn't have gone to college and I probably wouldn't be in all this debt that I'm in now. But that doesn't mean that they didn't have good intentions. With Hinata, on the other hand, Hinata must have felt an incredible amount of pressure, and I'm not quite sure about her father's intentions. I mean, he basically did disown her. Not only did Hinata struggle with his training, but her personality didn't seem to suit the expectations he had of her. It got to the point where Hanabi was thought to be more suited for the heir's position, which she actually was. Unfortunately, Hiyashi kind of took it too far and disowned Hinata, but it looks like they might be past that given their relationship in Boruto. So maybe he apologized to her off screen or something like that. One last thing I will mention about Hinata's background is that in the Naruto the last movie, Hinata apparently had a few bullies and was picked on because of her eyes, which has always been kind of weird to me because Hinata is from a very respectable clan, and I didn't think anyone would have the guts to do anything like that to her.
何隠れてんだってばよ。あら、ひなた？なあ、ひなた！
Alright, so how exactly did they meet? Now, in the last movie, they met when Kid Naruto saved Kid Hinata from some bullies. In the series, they interacted a bit during the beginning of the Chunin exams, but Naruto kind of thought Hinata was a bit weird at the time. Then there was the bit where he was going to cheat off her exam, and also the bit where she offered Naruto some ointment, as well as her giving some encouraging words to Naruto before he fought Neji. And we can't forget that Naruto was cheering on Hinata during her fight with Neji from the sidelines. These are all cute attempts and moments, but they kind of didn't interact much after the Chunin exams. And if they did interact, it wouldn't be for long, like Hinata would tell him and often be too shy to interact with Naruto. And Naruto, being Naruto, really had no idea of what was going on. I would have thought she was weird too if she was always fainting in front of me. That's not a normal way to express interest in someone. In Naruto's defense, Naruto also had his mind occupied with Sakura at the time. Now, it wasn't until the pain invasion that Hinata finally confessed her feelings, but I think Naruto simply forgot about it. What would have been better here instead and helped this couple develop is if Naruto saw fragments of what happened that day and maybe saw glimpses of Hinata trying to protect him. Now, I don't like the idea of Naruto seeing all of this during a genjutsu in the last, because one, Naruto's not even supposed to be susceptible to genjutsu in the first place, not with the tailed beast inside of him. I really felt like that was kind of bogus. But anyway, after the pain invasion, Naruto and Hinata didn't interact or advance much in their relationship until the 4th Great Shinobi War, and that's a long time to go without acknowledging Hinata's feelings. They honestly should have just let Naruto remember bits and seek out Hinata for answers. What's crazy is that in this war, Naruto still had the hots for Sakura, so there really wasn't any room for development here. And that would have been fine if they at least showed us more of them during a blank period, but they didn't. Instead, we get a movie trying to bridge their relationship and love together. I didn't like it. I also didn't like the BS reason they gave Naruto for not truly loving Sakura. Alright, so let's get into my verdict on this ship. This is an okay ship, but it could be better. Here's why. I think something that bothered me a lot was how Naruto loved Sakura for the longest of times, and suddenly he doesn't know what love is. I think that's kind of BS. I mean, sure, Naruto and Hinata had a few interactions here and there, but it was always clear that Naruto didn't think of Hinata beyond a friend. Not until the last Naruto movie. Meanwhile, Naruto has literally been pursuing Sakura since they were 12, and he was in love with her until the war at the age of 16 or 17. And then, 2 years passed and he was still in love with Sakura because, again, Hinata wasn't even thought of until the movie. I personally felt like that was an insult to Naruto's character, and it regressed him a bit. I also didn't like how they said that Naruto basically only wanted Sakura out of rivalry with Sasuke. I don't think Naruto is that shallow of a character to only want someone because someone else wants them. I do feel like he genuinely loved Sakura. In my opinion, Naruto's whole character is based on not giving up and not going back on his word. So I really feel like Naruto doesn't say anything that's weightless. Sure, Naruto was aware of Sakura's feelings towards Sasuke, but I don't think he chased after Sakura just because she wanted Sasuke. They really should have closed that chapter a lot better and a lot more logically than what they did. In my opinion, things felt kind of forced between Naruto and Hinata, especially with that genjutsu bit. I think they lost more natural opportunities. Like I said, maybe they could have had Naruto seek out Hinata after seeing fragments of what happened that day, and maybe gave us more moments of them during the blank period. That would have been a lot more natural than using a genjutsu to force the two of them together. Anyway, I'm really curious about what you guys think about what I had to say about Naruto and Hinata. Do you agree with me to some extent, or do you think I'm completely in the wrong? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you for tuning in. Sierra is out.